What's up, guys? Onmaths here. We're looking at solving a linear equation. So linear equation is any equation that doesn't have like x squared and stuff like that, because that would be quadratics, or it could have x cubed. No, you can't have any of that with linear. Linear is just with x's and, well, could be any letter. And we're going to keep it simple, so we're not going to do any questions that are area that end up with a linear equation that we've got to solve at the end. We're just going to go for the real basic ones. And so our first question today comes from OCR. And I've got a very definite method I use for solving linear equations. I've always found it's really helpful when I'm teaching students. If you've got your own method, as always, stick with it if it works. So I'm just going to write this down again, just so I've got some little bit more space to work with. And the method I use just involves putting some tram lines down either side of the equal sign. Okay, simple as that. Now the problem we've got in this question is that we have x's on both sides. So the first thing I do is deal with the x's on both sides. So on the left hand side we have 6x, and on the right hand side we have minus 4x. So we've got to figure out which one we're going to deal with, which one we're going to remove from that side and kind of move to the other side. Now, the rule I always have is I always want to remove the smaller amount of x. So on the left I've got 6x, on the right I've got minus 4x, where negatives is always going to be less than a positive, right? So I want to get rid of that minus 4x. So I've got to ask myself, what do I have to do to the right hand side to get rid of the minus 4x? Well, I'm going to have to, plus 4x. Simple as that. If I do it to the right hand side, I've got to do it to the left hand side, so I'm going to add 4x there. And we end up with 10x. Haven't done anything with the 2, so that 2 is still there, and same with the 5, that 5 will still be there. Then I've got two things I need to deal with. I've got the 10x there, or the 10 I should say, so we want to leave the x on the left hand side, and I've got that plus 2. Okay? So I've got to deal with the times 10 and the plus 2. Well, there's only one thing I can do now, is to deal with the plus 2. And I'm going to show you why at the end, but I have to deal with that plus 2 first. And to get rid of a plus 2, obviously I'm going to take away 2, always do the opposite. And that leaves me with 10x here, because I haven't dealt with that 10 yet, and 5 take away 2, which is 3. Then I'm going to deal with that times 10. So the opposite of times 10 is going to be divided by 10. So divide both sides by 10. We have x equals 3 over 10. And some people are really reluctant to write 3 over 10. They would always write 0.3. But 3/10 is absolutely fine as an answer. It doesn't say anywhere here you have to give your answer as decimal. So I would just leave it as 3/10 personally. But you might want to convert that to 0.3. Now, I'm going to show you a stage of this, and I'm going to show you a different way. I wouldn't advise this way, but we've got 10x plus 2 equals 5. And so we're just going to set this up again. Now, I said that I would always deal with the plus 2 first, but let's not. Let's deal with the times 10 at this stage. So we're going to divide both sides by 10. Okay, and then see what happens. So I'm going to divide this by 10, and I'm going to divide this by 10. But I have to also divide the 2 by 10. Okay? So I have to divide every term by 10. And the term's defined as anything that's separated by plus or minus, essentially. Okay? And then there are some rules, some exceptions to that. So if it's a fraction or a bracket, then it doesn't quite work that way. But in this case, there's 2 terms on the left hand side. So 2 divided by 10 is 0.2. Okay, now I need to take away 0.2 from both sides. So we have x equals, I missed an equals there, 0.5 take away 0.2, which is 0.3. So it's the same answer, but what do you think students do when they try to do this right hand method? If you guess that they forget to divide that by 10, you'd be absolutely right. Now, there are some situations you've got to do the right-hand method. Generally speaking, working with algebra, or if I can't think of an example in the top of my head, but you are sometimes having to divide everything by a number. Say if there's if it's a simultaneous equation, so you've got a and b or x and y, you sometimes have to do that. So you just have to know that you've got to divide everything, all the terms, by whatever, 10 in this instance. And I have just realised I've cut off the question. The question on this is question 10, so if you are wanting to look this up, this is question 10. Question 10a was inequalities, which we're not doing today. Next up is AQA's offering. So again, I'm going to just quickly write down the question again. You don't have to do this in your exam. I just find it gives me a bit more space. Okay, let's get my tram lines down, same as did before. And I'm going to probably need to start another row. So the first thing I need to do is expand brackets. Whenever you have a fraction or a bracket inside an equation, you must get rid of them first. And there's loads and loads of different ways of expanding brackets. Let's do the grid method. Why not? Have a bit of fun doing the grid method. Okay, so it is 4 times 3x minus 2. And we're timesing this. So 4 times 3 is 12x. 4 times minus 2 would be minus 8. So this becomes 12x minus 8 equals 2x minus 5. Now again, notice we've got x's on both sides, so we know how to deal with that. We look at the smaller amount of x, which will be on the right hand side, the 2x. So to get rid of that 2x, we're going to take away 2x from both sides. I'm going to ignore the horizontal lines. Story of my life, really. Okay, now be careful here. That says 2x minus 5. So we've got rid of the 2x, but there's still a minus 5 there. That minus belongs to that 5. Right, next step is we're going to do the add 8, get rid of that minus 8. And this is me now cramming this in, which is not good. So minus 5 plus 8 will be 3. Oh, this is weird. Get the same answer. I did not plan that. So we have x equals 3 over 10, or 0.3. Leave it as 3 over 10. Now, if you're not sure how I did the expanding the brackets, I am going to do a video later on about expanding and factorising. So keep your eyes peeled, keep subscribed, and keep your eyes peeled for that video if you need just a little bit more help with that section. Okay, and the last one is the Edexcel question, and this one reminds us of the rule I've just said. If you've got brackets or fractions, get rid of them. That's the first step. Get rid of any fractions or brackets when you're solving. Now, there are ways of doing it without getting rid of them. I'm not going to go into that in this video because I'm trying to keep these videos to the simplest methods. As with maths, there is always more than one, or almost always, more than one way of doing things. And there are people who absolutely swear by some methods and other people who absolutely swear by the complete opposite methods. So there is no right way of doing things in secondary school anyway. In primary school, maybe they feel that there is a correct way of doing things, but that's a video for another day. Right, on the left hand side we have 5 minus x over 2. Now we need to get rid of this over 2, but we have to kind of figure out, what does over 2 mean? Well, it means divided by 2. So what we want to do is we want to times that by 2 to get rid of that over 2. But we have to do the same on the right hand side. Okay? Now, I've talked about rules before, and the rule was if you times both sides by a number, you've got to times all the terms. Now, I did say also that there are some exceptions to that. So if the terms are in a fraction, okay, then when you're timesing it by 2, you're timesing the whole thing by 2, because all of those, the whole top there is being divided by 2. So when we times it by 2, the whole thing is being times by 2. So essentially, let's get the right colour. Essentially, we just are left with the top. You don't need to times them by 2. Okay? But we do have to times everything on the right hand side by 2. Now I could do it individually, or I could write it as brackets. And then expand the brackets underneath. And this is might be a better way, because you're showing the examiner, in case you make a mistake, you're showing the examiner you intended to times them both by 2. Okay, so let's just do a quick grid. Like, I definitely don't need to do a grid for this, but it's good if you're not sure what it is I'm doing, if I show you what's going on in my head. So 2 times 2x minus 7, 2 times 2x is 4x, 2 times minus 7 is minus 14. So we've got 4x minus 14. Okay, x on both sides again. Seems to be a theme for today's video. So which is the smaller amount of x? Well, the left-hand side's a minus x. That's the smallest amount of x. So we're going to add x both sides. And we're going to end up with 5 equals 5x minus 14. Get rid of the 14 by adding 14 both sides. We want to get x on its own. So that's going to be 19 equals 5x. And then we're going to divide both sides by 5. Now this is the part where people get nervous and go, oh, I'm not quite sure. Just leave it as a fraction. 19 over 5. Absolutely fine. Okay. Now, I might want to cancel that down or make it a mixed number. I can't cancel it down, but I can make a mixed number. So how many 5s in 19? 3 whole ones. How many remainders? 4. So it's 3 4/5. Now this is on the calculator paper, so you could have written 3.8, but they'd accept anything. 19 over 5 is fine, 3 4/5 is fine, anything you want. So as long as it's equivalent, they say OE in the mark scheme, which means or equivalent, so anything that's equivalent to that. Well, I hope that's been useful. I mean, the majority of times this comes up, it's part of a bigger question, which I really didn't want to focus on today, because I want these topics to be just that topic as much as possible, so that we're not talking about area or trigonometry or quadratics or anything like that, when we're supposed to be just talking about this topic, solving linear equations. If you found that video useful, if you found this video useful, please click like. It really, really helps. And if you want to see more from us, click subscribe. We release videos Monday to Friday every single day, including bank holiday, which I just noticed was yesterday. If you're watching this tomorrow or today or whatever day it is. And yeah, so Monday to Friday, rain or shine, we're going to be releasing these videos as we go through the different topics on our website, which is onmaths.com. You can join our website completely for free. You can do a whole load of resources without joining at all, but if you want to save your scores and if you want access to a summer school, then you just need to make an account. It takes 2 seconds and it's completely free. And the account's there just so it can save your score and save your progress. So yeah, feel free to mosey on there. I'm sure there's a card above me as I speak now. Otherwise, thank you very much.